I never thought moving to Sunnyside Estates would put me in the middle of a real-life nightmare, but that's exactly what happened. My name is Mike Wilson, and I work in Child Protective Services. 6 months ago, I bought a modest home here, hoping for quiet mornings, well-kept lawns, and neighbors who wave politely as you pass by. At first glance, the neighborhood looked perfect. Manicured gardens, sparkling pool, children riding bikes, neighbors greeting each other like a postcard. Most people were friendly, but there was one glaring exception. Deborah Jenkins, known by everyone here as Karen. She wasn't just the HOA president. She was a walking rule book with a personality like sandpaper. From the day I moved in, she monitored everything. My grass apparently half an inch too tall, my mailbox not the approved shade of chestnut brown, my trash cans left out even 1 hour past collection. Each minor violation came with a note taped to my door like a public warning. Scathing and precise, citing sections and paragraphs of the HOA bylaws. It felt like living under constant surveillance. I tried to ignore it at first, thinking she was harmless. Little did I know, her obsession would escalate into something dangerous, something that would change the neighborhood forever. It was a blistering Saturday in July, the kind of day where the heat wraps around you and makes every movement feel heavier. By noon, the temperature had soared to 98 degrees, and the humidity made it feel like walking through a sauna with no escape. I had just returned from the grocery store, juggling bags of food as I unlocked my front door, when I noticed Karen marching across the street toward Mrs. Rodriguez's house. Her son Tommy, maybe 8 years old, trailed behind her, dragging his feet under the scorching sun. The boy looked miserable, squinting against the glare, while Karen clutched her ever-present clipboard like a shield against the world. I froze mid-step, the smell of sunscreen and hot asphalt filling the air. Something about her gait, the tight grip on that clipboard, and the way Tommy hesitated at the curb made my gut tighten. I couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't just another HOA complaint or petty violation. It felt like the calm before a storm. My instincts, trained over years of child protective work, screamed that something was about to go very wrong. As Karen reached Mrs. Rodriguez's driveway, she barked instructions over her shoulder, snapping at Tommy to stay in the car. I held my breath. Did she just... My heart skipped a beat as I saw her double-click her key fob, locking the doors tightly, then checking them twice, as if the car contained a treasure rather than her own child. The windows were rolled up, the engine off, and the heat radiating from the asphalt made the metal skin of the car glisten like a frying pan. I gripped the handle of a gallon of milk, my mind racing. Was she really leaving her son inside in this heat? Maybe she thought a minute wouldn't matter. Maybe she underestimated the danger. I had seen cases like this before, and every second counted. Panic mixed with disbelief as I stepped closer, ready to intervene, knowing that I couldn't let a child suffer because an overbearing HOA president thought she had the authority to dictate every aspect of life in Sunnyside Estates. Neighbors peeked from their windows. Curiosity etched across their faces, but no one moved. Everyone had learned, over time, to fear Karen's wrath. I could feel the tension in the air, thick and heavy, every passing second making Tommy sweat more and grow more uncomfortable. I called out, my voice calm and firm, "Tommy, it's okay, I'm here." The boy looked up, eyes wide, relief flickering as he recognized a friendly face. Karen spun around, anger flashing across her features. But I held my ground. Years of experience had taught me to remain steady, to project authority, without escalating the situation further. I pulled out my phone, ready to call the local authorities, but then something shifted. Karen's defiance faltered for just a second, the first crack in her armor. And in that brief moment, I knew this was my chance to prevent a tragedy, to step in and take control before the sun turned the car into a death trap. Within minutes, neighbors who had been watching cautiously began to murmur among themselves. Karen's voice rose, sharp and panicked, as she demanded explanations, waving her clipboard like a weapon. The tension was palpable. Every passerby realizing that the rules they had feared for months now seemed absurd in the face of real danger. I moved closer to the car, assessing the locks, the temperature, and the boy's condition. Tommy's cheeks were flushed, tiny beads of sweat forming along his hairline, his breathing uneven. My training kicked in. I kept my voice soothing, drawing attention away from Karen's theatrics and focusing entirely on the child's safety. Minutes stretched, the summer sun beating down, until finally, the wail of sirens announced help was on the way. Police arrived, officers jumping out, assessing the situation, and within moments, Karen Jenkins was being confronted officially, her clipboard no longer a shield but a symbol of her recklessness. Relief flooded the street, neighbors exhaling collectively, and Tommy's fear gave way to tears and comfort. The aftermath was chaotic, but justice was immediate. Karen Jenkins, who had terrorized the neighborhood with minor rule violations for months, was arrested right there on the scene. I stayed nearby, making sure Tommy was safe, ensuring that the boy knew he wasn't at fault and that some adults still cared about doing the right thing. Conversations buzzed with disbelief and whispered admiration as the officers led Karen away, neighbors witnessing the fall of someone they had feared for so long. My heart, still racing, settled into a steady rhythm as I realized that in that moment, I had witnessed and helped enforce justice, not as an HOA member or neighbor, but as a professional sworn to protect children. That summer day would be talked about for years in Sunnyside Estates, a story of recklessness, courage, and the sudden balance of accountability. By evening, the neighborhood slowly returned to a semblance of normalcy. Tommy was reunited with his relieved family. Neighbors offered quiet congratulations, and the oppressive heat began to give way to a gentle breeze. I sat on my porch, sipping lukewarm coffee, reflecting on how quickly life could escalate from ordinary to extraordinary. Karen Jenkins, once feared and untouchable, had been stopped not by gossip or complaints, but by steady observation, quick thinking, and a commitment to protect those who couldn't protect themselves. The lake shimmered in the distance. Trees rustled softly, and for the first time in months, Sunnyside Estates felt like the peaceful neighborhood I had imagined when I moved in. The lesson was clear: vigilance, courage, and a steadfast sense of right can overcome even the most overbearing and dangerous of adversaries.